I'm going to start by giving a short introduction to a lecture on the importance of communication, which is from the book So You Want to Be an Interpreter. And this will be just a short introduction, which will lead to a longer piece that we'll listen to at a different time. And so first I want to ask everybody, how do we acquire information? And by that I mean, how do we pick it up? How do we learn things? For my part, I came up with two different ways, and I classified it as casually and formally. And by casually, I mean overheard conversations or directly and indirectly. And what I mean by that is, for example, you might be at the grocery store standing in line at the checkout, and you might overhear someone in line talk about this really great new frozen pizza that tastes just like you ordered Domino's. And it's so good. So you overhear that and you think, you know what? I'm going to buy that next time I come by. And so you learned about this cool new frozen pizza because you overheard a conversation. What I mean by directly and indirectly is maybe directly asking someone, hey, what's your suggestion or recommendation on the best pizza to make at home? Or indirectly, a friend of a friend told you, or a friend of a friend referred you to a professional or whatnot. Now, if we think of the category of formally can be something like education, like this class that you're taking. But it doesn't have to be like something you're paying for or something you're getting a grade for, but something that you seek out. So information even that you get on the computer and Google, or even when you start asking, consultants for information or the right people for information, you start to get on your journey of information seeking. And so if we think about those two different ways that we acquire information, casually and formally, it all requires access to communication. So if we think about the deaf experience and think about language deprivation or not just no language, which is what language deprivation means, but maybe limited use of language. So if a deaf student is going to a residential school and signing at school but not signing at home, how easy it is to get that information that you pick up from overheard conversations or even directly or indirectly. And then we have to think about the formal way of getting information. So then they're formally only getting that information at school through their peers or through their teachers or staff. And when they seek out information, if it's not in a language that's accessible, it may not be information that arrives to them in a clear and understandable way, so not in an accessible way. And so it's important that we recognize the importance of communication in someone's life because it's how we acquire information. It's not just how we learn and educate ourselves and advance as professionals or as students, but it's also how we get social cues. It's how we learn what gym to join. It's how we learn that you shouldn't trust those emails that say, I'm a Nigerian prince and I can pay you $1 million if you give me your bank account information, because we have already overheard the jokes that say that that's spam and that that's phishing for our bank account information. And so it's really important to understand how this access to information in this way is really critical. And when you don't have access in this way, it actually leads to a very big lack of or we can call it a gap of information. I'll say of the receiving of information. And I'll stop there for a moment to give you a chance to think about what that might mean.